Sidi Abdurrahman, there's few people who get as passionate about things in life as Abdurrahman Malik does. He called me a few years ago and said, Sidi, he messaged me first, urgent, please answer the phone, urgent. And we've both been managing activist type crises for for 3 decades now together. And so something is really urgent, probably like life shattering. So I called, said, what's wrong? He said, Sidi, it's really urgent. I need your full attention. I said, yes. He went on and on why it's so important. I said, what is it? I need your address. I said, you know my address. I just wanted to confirm. I said, why? It's really important. Why is it important? He said, I found this amazing coffee place and I have to send you the beans right away. And I'm like, really? Like I'm a big believer in good coffee. I made him the coffee that he was drinking in that video, which is at the old hub. But I'm not an extremist or a fanatic like my good friend. Alhamdulillah. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina wa Nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama tasliman kathira. I wanted to sum up some of the points made and to look at how coffee relates to meanings of life, right? Because there's many dimensions to coffee, right? And these dimensions apply to everything that we do in life, right? That coffee really is a means, right? Coffee is a means in life. As believers, we see that everything in this dunya, in this worldly life, is a means. We are here for a purpose. And everything within this life only makes sense insofar as it is taken as a means to the purpose of life. To the purpose of life. The Prophet ﷺ said, this world is a means. Ad-dunya mata'. Right? It's a means. It is provision. Right? And there are good means in this life and there's bad means. And we've taken a lot on why coffee can be a particularly good means. Right? But means only have meaning by their purpose. Means only have meaning in accordance with their purpose. So it's like a car is a means. It's a means to get you somewhere. So if I pass by a long lost friend, let's just say his name is Ilyas, and he's sitting in his car. I say, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Ilyas, what are you doing? He said, I'm in my car. I said, good, I know, but why are you in your car? I said, good question. It'd be kind of awkward, like why are you in your car? Right? Means only make sense if their purpose is clear. In this sense, all that we do in life is mere forms, right? All that we do in life is mere forms. What is it that gives reality to these forms? It is the purpose that underlies the action. Actions in our life are meaningless, right? Completely meaningless. They're like an empty cup. They have potential, but in of themselves, they don't have any meaning. It is the underlying purpose behind the action that makes them praiseworthy or blameworthy, makes them meaningful or meaningless. And we've talked previously, it really hits me really hard that for me, a real summary of modern life is an author, and he has a very sad life, but I have like a ongoing relationship with him. I mean, he's dead, but last time I did a Seekers Hub seminar and I mentioned him, a few days later I was walking in downtown Toronto. I saw this secondhand bookstore. I told a friend, that's a really good secondhand bookstore, and I was actually pointing at this author's book called Infinite Jest. So I picked up like the I won't mention how many copies I've bought of that book. I always give it away. That David Foster Wallace talked about, was really troubled by this perception of life as just being this infinite jest, this one big meaningless party. And he was very troubled by that. And he struggled with depression, and he sought meaning in life. And I mentioned it before, but it's worth mentioning again. I periodically revisit some of these writings myself on an ongoing basis, not because I have any trouble with depression, just because it's so poignant. He gave this amazing commencement address. And commencement addresses tend to be very cliched, but his is arguably one of the greatest commencement addresses ever given. It's brief. It's called "This is Water." This is water. Right? Of course, the sad thing is, he never found the meaning of life, right? The ultimate meaning of life, and he had a very tragic ending. But he was also sent by Harper's Magazine on a boat cruise, which is a bad idea, because this guy who struggles with finding meaning in things and sees modern life as being one infinite jest. So he wrote this amazing article called "Something Supposedly Fun That I'll Never Do Again." Okay? Because really, if you think about it, and it's a great blessing from Allah that most of us, let alone most humanity, doesn't think too much. Because if we really thought about it, we'd be depressed. We say, "Oh, what do we do in life?" Right? People could get depressed. But the believer sees that every moment is a means. And what is it a means to? It is a means to Allah. Right? It's a means to Allah. And coffee too is from that. Because our actions, as Ibn Ata'illah, one of the great imams of the spiritual tradition of Islam, he put it very powerfully. Al-a'malu suwarun qa'ima. Actions are lifeless forms. وَأَرْوَاحُهَا وُجُودُ سِرِّ الْإِخْلَاصِ فِيهَا. And their life-giving spirit is the subtle reality of sincerity within them. And their life-giving spirit is the subtle reality of sincerity within them. That without sincerity, your action is like a propped-up dead body. It's like, your actions are like your friend Bilal. But he's dead. So you prop him up and say, "This is Bilal." It's not, it's a dead body. Right? What brings Bilal to life? It is this meaning of sincerity. What brings your work to life? What brings your family life to life? What brings your cooking to life? What brings your shopping to life? What brings your activism to life? What brings anything to life? It is the subtle reality of sincerity. But what is sincerity? Right? Sincerity relates to the purpose of life. Right? And Shaykh Yahya is going to close on the relationship between sincerity and our attachment to Allah. But sincerity relates directly to the very purpose of life. Why have we been created? To seek Allah and to find Allah, right? It's to seek Allah Himself in anything one does. That is sincerity. And we have clarity about sincerity. Right? Because, say, be sincere, but to whom? And why? Right? It doesn't make sense to be sincere, I'm sincere to my friends. Like, why? It actually doesn't make any sense. Right? There's no logical reason you should be sincere to anybody but God. Right? And the only reason you're sincere to God is because He created you and He's sustaining you. Right? We are from Him and to Him we return. So sincerity, right, is seeking Allah Himself in anything that one does. But in anything, you could also replace that by everything. That what is sincerity? It is to seek Allah Himself in everything that one does. And that's the amazing reality of our religion. The amazing reality of prophetic guidance. How to be present with Allah in anything that one does. Right? So why are you drinking coffee? You're not drinking coffee because it tastes good. You're not actually drinking coffee for that marqaha, right? That cool, exciting state, right? You're not drinking the coffee for the taste. You're drinking coffee for Allah. Even that marqaha that my friend talked about, even that's for Allah. You're not drinking coffee for the good company, because the coffee and the good company are for Allah. Right? We associate no partners with our one beloved. Right? It is all for Allah. You know, some of our literally minded brethren, are what I call our attitudinally divergent brethren, or you could call them the bad ones, right? Brethren who are attitudinally divergent. Okay. Are they bad Muslims? Yeah. There are brethren who are attitudinally divergent, right? They sometimes go around, they have these interesting things that they do. Once in a while, they'll go around and they'll ask people, where is Allah? So people who are in love with Allah would have the same answer as some of our bad friends, which is, if they ask the question, what's up? They'd say, Allah. Okay? So our literal friends would mean it literally, but for the one who is in love, it's all about Allah. And that's a relationship between sincerity, love, and gratitude. That why are you drinking coffee? Sincerely for Allah. Why are you drinking coffee? Out of love for Allah. Why are you drinking coffee? Out of gratitude to Allah. Because the believer, what distinguishes them is love. Right? So the lover seeks the beloved in all that they do. The lover seeks the beloved in all that they do. So that cup is not time to enjoy coffee. That sipping of that cup is a moment with the beloved. And that's why you see amazing examples of the Prophet ﷺ's beautiful and beloved actions. When his wife, Sayyidah Aisha, radiallahu ta'ala anha, when his wife Aisha would drink from a cup, often the Prophet ﷺ would pick up the cup and turn it around and drink from exactly the same spot. Why? Like, who cares where she drank from, to be honest? Right? But it's not about her. It's because that action that you want to do in a beautiful and beloved way, it's for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? But this is how the one in love, everything that they do it beautifully. You know, the lover doesn't give dead flowers to their beloved. Honey, I love you. Here's some dead flowers, right? You'd pick out beautiful roses, right? You got her a gift, say, you know what, it's your birthday. I saw these in the Lost and Found and I claimed it, it's for you, right? Right? No, you try to choose something befitting, right? So the lover seeks the beloved in all that they do. The lover, right? And what distinguishes a Muslim? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. And those who believe are most intense in their love for Allah. Why do we drink coffee? Out of intense love for Allah. Okay? I was pouring coffee for Shaykh Yahya. Shaykh Yahya is very interesting. So I kept pouring. I was focused on Shaykh Yahya rather than the coffee, and it overflowed. So the coffee overflowed. I said, yeah, because I'm pouring it out of love for you. And and intense love, they say, is like a cup that cannot contain what is poured into it. Okay? But the lover finds the beloved in all that they do. That's the nature of love. Because the lover is not with, the lover is not with the flower when they're buying the flower. They're with the one they're getting the flower for. Okay? It's not about the flower. Right? The lover is with the beloved in all that they do. The metaphor for love in the Islamic tradition is a real story, the story of Majnoon and Layla. And Majnoon wasn't his real name. But as Abu Madian said in a line of poetry, تَسَمَّيْتُ بِالْمَجْنُونِ مِنْ أَلَمِ الْهَوَى. I was called the mad one, Majnoon, due to the pains of my passion. And people started calling me out in the neighborhood. وَصَارَتْ بِيَ الْأَمْثَالُ فِي الْحَيِّ تُضْرَبُ. So one day, Majnoon is sitting there, just staring at the moon, transfixed. And they asked, like, Majnoon, what's wrong? And he didn't hear them. They had to repeat it several times, like, what's wrong, Majnoon? He's just staring at the moon. And of course, Majnoon had gone crazy in love out of the intensity of his love for Layla. Of course, they'd grown up together, they'd been separated, and her family said no way to him. And, like most love stories, it was very tragic. Right? If it was up to me, there should be a rewrite of like Romeo and Juliet, right? But with a happy ending. But all love stories tend to be tragic, right? Except for the true love story, right? It is. But Majnoon is just staring at the moon. They said, why are you staring at the moon? He said, because I can't be with Layla. But right now, when the moon is full, what if while I'm looking at the moon, she's looking at the moon? And if I can't be with her, then maybe my gaze and her gaze could meet at the moon. Right? Which is a bit crazy, right? But that's the nature of the lover. All they think about is the one they love. And that's worldly love. So what about the love of Allah? Right? The lover is with the beloved in all that they do. Now, all love besides the love of Allah is a form of delusion. Right? All love besides the love of Allah is a form of delusion. It's not worth it, to be honest. Love is a form of shirk. Love is a form of associating partners with Allah. You're drinking that coffee, if you love it independent of Allah, is a type of lesser shirk. Because they can only be one beloved. Right? It's excusable shirk. Allah is merciful, right? You're not worshipping the coffee, although some people seem borderline cases. Right? And that's not a fatwa, right? But the love of Allah is very real. Right? It's very real because who created the being? Right? Who for everything? It is all from Allah. It is all from Allah, right? So the lover is not with the coffee bean, nor the coffee, nor the cup, nor its preparation. The lover sees the meaning. It is all from Allah, right? So the lover is with the beloved in all that they do. The lover, therefore, and the lover, of course, is a person of faith. Those who believe are most intense in their love for Allah. That the lover realizes that the only way you're able to seek what you're seeking is by Allah, by your beloved. Right? Which is why we begin everything by the name of Allah. Right? Because you have no power nor ability to love except by the permission of your beloved. So and the Prophet ﷺ talked about this. Although we don't pay much attention. The Prophet ﷺ said, truly Allah loves when his servant drinks a sip of something and praises Allah for it. Right? A sip of something to drink could be beloved to Allah. Why? Because done out of love. It is done out of gratitude. Right? And it gives an eternal meaning to that action. But that's not all that the drinking of coffee relates to, right? Because if we drink coffee out of sincerity in seeking Allah, there's another aspect. That if you are seeking Allah in all that you do, you're seeking to make your action beloved to Allah, there's another aspect. Which is that sincerity or love entails that you make your action beloved to your beloved. Right? You don't pick the dead rose for the one you love. Right? And you see a beautiful example of this in how the Prophet ﷺ put on new clothes. Right? And there's an ethical dimension, as we'll touch upon, to sincerity. Right? Sincerity has a spiritual dimension, but that spiritual dimension has an ethical dimension. Why? Because who is God? God is the all-merciful. Right? The one whose mercy encompasses everything. And who attains to divine mercy? It is those who strive to embody mercy. Those who strive to embody concern for good, for all God's creation. Right? So sincerity entails ethical concern. It's inseparable. You cannot say, I'm doing this sincerely for Allah, so but I don't care if it's displeasing to Him. Does that make sense? I'm putting on my clothes for the sake of Allah, out of love for Allah, but I don't care that my clothes were made in basically slavery conditions. We have modern day economic slavery. Most of the clothes that most people here are wearing, with some exceptions, I feel very comfortable that I'm wearing ethical clothes. But they're ethical by accident, I have to be honest, because it's a company run by friends of mine. They're ethical and they're sincere. They don't like advertising that they're ethical, but they've been ethical since for a long time. Shukr clothing, and that wasn't a plug. But like really, you're saying, I'm putting on these clothes for the sake of Allah, but the clothes were made by oppressing the workers, by oppressing the people who cultivated the cloth, the cotton, in oppressive economic arrangements. Entire economies were destroyed by the foreign trade arrangements by which the multinational companies procured these clothes. I say, I'm wearing it for the sake of Allah. Right? You'll be rewarded to the extent of your intention, but your intention is grossly deficient. So I'm eating this meal for the sake of Allah, but I don't care that the halal slaughtered meat that I ate entailed torture of the animals. And the Prophet ﷺ told us that about so many people of the past peoples who went to hell for the ill treatment of one animal. Consider how many animals have we consumed in our life, all of which, without exception, were raised in oppressive conditions. Right? That's not love. Right? If we acted out of love, there's a spiritual dimension to that. But there's an ethical dimension to that. It's a beautiful example. I don't want to think about this, but I'll mention one amazing sunnah, and every sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is amazing. The Prophet ﷺ, when he got new clothes, and I try to do this with the coffee beans I get. I have a coffee subscription. Every time I get the coffee, I fail often too, because I get lost in the flower from the higher meaning. Sometimes it's a fitna. So because the coffee comes and there's a really nice description card and you lose sight of the bigger meanings. But I try. The Prophet ﷺ, when he put on new clothes, and this applies to other matters too, not just new clothes. The first thing he would do, he'd mention it by name. Allahumma hadha thawb. Like this is, oh Allah, this shirt, this jacket, these shoes. And then the Prophet ﷺ used to make this beautiful supplication. Allahumma lakal hamd. Anta kasawtanihi. O Allah, yours is all praise, for it is you who have clothed me with it. As'aluka min khayrihi. O Allah, I ask you from its good. Wa khayri ma suni'a lahu. And I ask you for the best of what it was made for. And in some narrations, As'aluka min khayrihi. O Allah, I ask you for its good and the good of its people, and the good of what it was made for. وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ شَرِّهِ. And in one narration, وَمِنْ شَرِّ أَهْلِهِ وَشَرِّ مَا صُنِعَ لَهُ. And I seek refuge in you from its harm, and the harm of its people, and the harm of what it was created for. Right? Because we we are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. And in this creation, the believer worships the All-Merciful. Right? We say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. But we don't just say it just like that. We are worshipping the All-Merciful, but we attain the mercy of the All-Merciful by striving to become embodiments of mercy. To whom? To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. And that's part of the sincerity. That anything that we do it sincerely out of love for Allah. But love for Allah entails that we make the action beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? You don't give a rose to your beloved and say, oh, here's a rose for you. So where is it from? I stole it from your neighbor. Right? So Layla got the rose, but now she's in trouble with her neighbors. Now, of course, everything belongs to Allah. Right? But you can't seek Allah's pleasure by matters displeasing to Him. Right? You can't seek Allah's pleasure through matters displeasing to Him. And this is something that we have to ask ourselves these questions. That part of the meaning of what we do is that we do it with spiritual consciousness, but we have to do it with ethical consciousness as well. Then where does our coffee come from? Who's selling us our coffee? What are the conditions in which we're getting the coffee? And doesn't this apply to coffee? Honestly, what about the halal restaurant you go to? How many halal restaurants pay minimum wages to their employees? Who cares? The believer cares. Because everything they do, we don't just go to the restaurant just because we're going, because we're sincerely seeking the pleasure of Allah. We do it out of love for Allah. We do it out of gratitude. We want to do it in a beautiful manner. Nothing is without meaning. رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا. O Lord, you have not created any of this in vain, without purpose. Right? And that's how the believer is. So that concern is manifest, one, that in whatever we do, we connect our mundane actions with prayer, with dua, which is why everything, absolutely everything we do in life, there are sunnah supplications related to them. And a characteristic of the sunnah supplications, whether of food or drink or dress or anything, getting on a car, all of them begin with with gratitude for the mundane, and they go to spiritual and social concern. All of them. Right? When you ride on the car, you ride on any kind of vehicle, the dua, right? Subhanalladhi sakhkhara lana hadha. Glory be to the one who has granted us a control over this. And we would have no control over it. And truly to our Lord are we returning. Right? So it takes the mundane, it clothes it in gratitude, and it directs it towards ultimate meanings, towards ultimate purpose. Likewise with everything, our sleep, all the du'as have this shared meaning. So similarly, in these things that we do, that we pursue, do it meaningfully, do it prayerfully. And we saw the example when you're making coffee. It's not just making coffee. Right? You prepare it, use that, you're making coffee out of gratitude, out of love for Allah. You want to make it in a manner that's beautiful, but use that as a time to pray for others. And there's so many beautiful traditions with respect to coffee. Abdurrahman didn't talk about all of them. Like, if you see any traditional coffee ceremony, no one ever used to drink coffee alone. It's miserable. Right? And if you can find some beautiful examples of the Ethiopian coffee ceremony, right? And people would call their neighbors, their friends, etc., would be known who makes coffee in the neighborhood. And you call other people because you want to make that act of drinking coffee beloved. You go to work, you make coffee. As you're preparing it, make it beloved. Share it with someone else. You have someone else at work. Take a cup for them too. How difficult is that? But pray for their good. Pray for their family. Make your dua as wide as you can. Right? Pray for everyone involved in the process. But then, your sincerity, and I'm closing with this, relates to ethical choices. Your sincerity relates to ethical choices. That if we are seeking Allah through one's choices in life, then strive to make your choices meaningful choices. Strive to make your choices blessed choices. Strive to make your choices pleasing to Allah. Not choices that are odious to Allah. Right? The believer has no place in their mental vocabulary for so what? Who cares? Right? Because the believer's vocabulary is so Allah. Right? And Allah cares. And you care for Allah. Right? So you care, full stop. Right? And where are these manifest? Right? And these relate to the meaning of life. Our ethical concern is not just because we're a bunch of hippies. Right? It actually makes no sense. Well, just do the right thing. No, rationally it makes no sense. It makes no sense. But what you buy things that you're convinced, this choice will be beloved to Allah. And if you can't make it, don't get it. It's better to have less, renounce things that are convenient, but that are harmful to others. Do without it. You wanted to buy that jacket, but it's not from an ethical source. Don't get it. Wait till you can buy it. You'll appreciate it more. Right? Don't buy from companies with poor industrial records, with poor labor records, with poor environmental records, with poor whatever. Right? Look carefully at what you buy. Whom you buy it from. Whom you buy it from. The Prophet ﷺ asked Allah for the best of the people who made his clothing. Why? And this doesn't apply, the ulama say, only to believers. There's a lot of people out there who have good worldly intentions in the work that they do. And when you support them, then they're trying to pay fair wages. They're conscious about the environment. They're careful about the kinds of trade relationships that they engage in. Which choice would be more beloved to Allah? Supporting something like that, or just buying a big bucket of powdered coffee that tastes like poison, to be honest, right? I'd say it's convenient. It's not spiritually convenient. It's not spiritual. It's displeasing to Allah. It's displeasing to Allah. If you can't get it, just do without it. Have coffee once a week, but enjoy it. Right? Make those choices meaningful. You'll find meaning in it. Right? So whom you buy it from. Also ask yourself that what am I buying with? What am I buying with? Right? Make sure that your earnings are blessed and beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And learn about ethical work. Right? Blessed work. Right? And we have a number of resources on Seekers Hub about work and working for the sake of Allah. And we covered it in previous seminars. But what you buy it with, how you earn your money is of great significance. You're working for some multinational that's polluting the world and destroying lives, and it won't hurt me. Right? And then how you consume it. Right? That strive that anything that you partake of this world, you partake of it in a manner that's beloved to Allah. One aspect of that is don't do things alone. It's a bid'ah. It is against prophetic guidance to be alone. It's a bid'ah. In the Maliki school, it's actually considered makruh, according to strong opinions, to go to sleep alone in a bedroom without another person present. It's not considered spiritually good. It's considered spiritually detrimental to eat alone. The Prophet ﷺ even said that the person who eats alone, when able to eat with others, their eating companion is the devil. We always talk about women's travel, but the Prophet ﷺ said that if people knew the harm of traveling alone, no person would travel alone without a companion. And this is when you have a choice. We are not meant to be alone all the time. Right? Being alone is a spiritual choice. That now is my time for my Lord. Right? So how you consume it, share it with other people. Right? Share it with other people. Eat with others. Drink with others. Like coffee, permissible drink. Right? In all our choices, don't go shopping alone. Take someone with you. It's inconvenient, but it's better for you. And it's better for them. Right? So this is how every little thing that all the choices in our life, all have meaning. And the believer is the one whose love for Allah is intense. Why? Because their love for Allah is manifest in every choice that they make. Okay? And that's why one of the poets said, كل وقت من حبيبي قدره كألف حجة. Every moment with my beloved is worth more than 1,000 pilgrimages. Why? And that's why the foremost servants of Allah are described in the Quran, that they are in constant joy. Because at every moment, if you are seeking the love of Allah, and you have done your best to have made choices spiritually and ethically that are beloved to Allah, then all is good. Right? So this is what we strive for with respect to the meaning of life. Right? Every moment is meaningful. For every moment is with our beloved. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala realize us in these meanings. And sorry for going beyond my time. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.